I haven't even got out of my like clothes of dropping off the kids. I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. It's morning. And I wanted to address me like not having comments on my videos. Um just first and foremost, for the last video where I talk about my MBTI, there was a comment left. You did nothing wrong. Person that made the comment, like I didn't even look at what like your handle was or anything like that. You just said thank you for sharing. Like you did nothing wrong, okay? So this is not about you. Like you did nothing wrong with that comment, okay? But I personally do no comments on my videos to protect myself. So I know that there could be people who make nice comments and have like wonderful things to say, but I have to protect myself. There have been some bad things in my life, and like a lot of it is cyberbullying and people actually stalking me and shit. Like it was really bad, out of high school. And I normally try to not be as graphic when it comes to any of this kind of stuff. I'm going to get a little graphic this time, and I will have trigger warnings. So if you got into the first minute here and you have trigger warnings when it comes to abuse and sexual assault and rape and things like that, I'm going to talk about that. So there's your warning. I mean, like sometimes I don't do much of a warning in the video, so I'm sorry. I always put trigger warnings in the description though. But I went through that with someone that I went to high school with, and he was coercive and he was aggressive and abusive. And he accused me of lying about being raped as a child because I bled when he raped me. And like, first and foremost, that's not how biology works. And secondly, there's more than one way to assault and rape and hurt a person. But that is a control method that abusers have. The whole bleeding and, oh, then you must have been lying about this. Trust me when I say this. That is a method of control for abusers, okay? And I didn't name him to people that I knew back then, or at least most of them, until years ago, actually. Like 2019 is when I actually posted the names on my private Facebook account, mind you. And I keep Instagram and Facebook private, and I always will, because that also has to do with my kids and location and things like that. So when I vet people to add, I scrutinize very harshly for a good reason. But either way, years ago, like, so I graduated high school in 2004, and then 2005, 2006 is roughly the time frame that I had dated this guy, and then he treated me like an object, treated me like a toy, very misogynistic and very, very hurtful during intercourse. It was bad. And then and he did not take my comments to heart. Like I said, well, I didn't enjoy that. Like, maybe we can do something else. And then he started becoming awful. Like, well, obviously you're lying. Obviously, like this didn't happen or whatever. And this was back in the day of, AOL, instant messaging, AIM, and other like little forums and stuff, and LiveJournal, like in the very, inception of this stuff. And he led a cyberbullying campaign against me. And it's because I started talking about the things, but I didn't name him, but I started talking about how uncomfortable I was about things. And I opened up a little bit more to someone I thought I could trust back then, an ex-friend. Like definitely now an ex-friend, but like I stopped being friends with them since then. So, a couple decades. But he found out, and then he led this whole smear campaign against me. And it was awful. Like people knew where I went to my classes. They knew where I lived. I didn't have the options. I didn't have the resources to just up and leave or hide or anything. Like I had to face this. I had people stalking me. I had people assaulting me and making the most horrible comments online and just destroying me. And honestly, like when it comes to this kind of stuff, is it any wonder why people are not open when they are sexually assaulted, when they are assaulted, when they are raped? Like things like this happen all the time, where you're victim blaming and you're attacking the victim and you don't believe them. And I didn't even name him, like publicly, I didn't even name him. But because of the nature of me talking about it, and because that one person I opened up to knew about it, they told him. They didn't believe me, and they told him. And so then I had people coming after me in real life. It was awful. So I'm not kidding when I say that, like, the whole thing with K-pop and how bad and how toxic a lot of fandoms are and the things that they do. I commensurate and I empathize with idols who have gone through that, because I've gone through that. Not because I'm famous. I'm not famous like any way. I mean, thank you for the people who follow me. I don't do this for follows, but like I have like maybe 50 something subscribers on here. That's great. Like that's a lot of people to me. But someone in the public eye going through that kind of stuff and stalking and just, people going after them, like it's awful. I wasn't like famous like that, but I was made an example of, and people came after me, and it was just awful. So, I mean, there are reasons why I do things. There's always a reason why I do something. I've learned over time that some of it is attributed to like autism and ADHD. Like there's specifics there, but there's a lot that has to do with trauma. There's a lot that has to do with the reason why I do not have comments on like open on my YouTube is because of cyberbullying. And a good example is also last year when I opened up about my ex-husband, how abusive he was. Someone so horribly left a comment, and I'm paraphrasing here, but basically they're like, "Oh, he sounds great. Why don't you introduce me?" Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I'm talking about this guy who is abusive in all ways. He turned to alcoholism and substance abuse that just amplified his abusive nature. Like, he was already like that before he started doing that stuff, and that just amplified it. And he got out of the Marines after 4 years, and then I was still in the Navy, so like, because we both served, but then he became my spouse dependent. So then he also like was financially abusive because he would spend money that I didn't have, and I could not save up, and he had access to things. Even when I tried to not give him access, I couldn't, because he was my spouse dependent and the Navy did nothing. Like, there are so many ways that he was abusive. That was just to me. And that's not including what he did to my oldest child when I wasn't there because I was serving in the military. So, like, me talking about that openly, and someone had to make that comment, like, that's just a small example of the reason why I do not have comments open on YouTube. And yes, I do have a public Threads and Blue Sky, but there's a little bit more protection there. You can hide comments and you can block a person. You can't do that. You can't block a person on YouTube. I've tried. I've gone through any like route that I could possibly think of. I couldn't even report the person. Like, it wouldn't let me. And maybe there's something wrong with my thing. I don't know, but I couldn't even report that comment. It was awful. So I had to cut off comments. I definitely screenshot. I took receipts, of course, but that's just one of the most recent examples. But I went through actual like cyberbullying, people stalking me and assaulting me in person, because this guy did a whole cyberbullying and smear campaign against me simply because I didn't agree with what he did to me. I didn't even name him publicly, but he had his goons and other people that like followed him come after me or tell people like, you see that, she's a sinner, she's a bad person, and that happens all the time. Is it any wonder why people don't open up? It's because of things like that. You don't even have to be a celebrity to go through that. So many people go through that all the time. But like, me getting back into like K-pop, me getting back into and like really enjoying K-dramas, but seeing how toxic people are. Like, this is why I'm totally fine not knowing a lot about a person if they're a celebrity. It's totally fine if I don't know like their date of birth and I don't memorize it. It's okay if I don't know their favorite whatevers. I'm fine not knowing stuff about a person. Like, I enjoy their content. But like, if they have to be private because of shit like this, I totally understand. I actually understand. I'm one of those people who knows how that feels, even if it wasn't on like a worldwide stage. I still had to go through that. And it sucks because they have to deal with like the whole scandal thing. Like, even dating is considered a scandal. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, they're human beings, but whatever, you know, it's a lot of these fandoms don't see them as human beings and don't treat them as human beings. But it's like, is it any wonder why they're very private about stuff, you know? Because they don't want to deal with that shit. Or maybe they've gone through it already where people have stalked them and have assaulted them or hurt them. Like, and there's not as much protection for them. And there was no protection for me. I had no bodyguard. So, I mean, I guess that is one major difference, is I didn't have anyone protecting me. So I had to defend myself. And there was a time when someone actually threatened to sue me for defending myself. Like, they came after me, physically hurt me. So yeah, I punched the shit out of that guy. And he had a bloody nose, and I think I broke something. I heard a break somewhere in the face. And like a family member of his found out, and they were going to like come after me or whatever, but because there were witnesses to him attacking me, it was on campus. And by the way, because it was at the edge of campus, school did nothing. They did jack shit. Because it's like, oh, it's so far out. It could be practically in the city. Yeah, that's just one example. But I mean, I talk about this because I need people to understand that there are valid reasons why someone may not do comments. And I'm willingly talking about this. Things that have happened with my mom, I've processed. I've had decades of process. Things that happened with my ex-husband, it's been less than 10 years. I'm still processing. So I'm probably going to be upset later just talking about my ex-husband in this instant. The things that happened outside of high school, the cyberbullying, I've had a bit of time to process some of that, but I am definitely fired up when it comes to that sort of thing. So I get pissed on behalf of celebrities and idols when they go through that. Like, I get pissed and want to just go on this like fist flying spree, because I'm just like, I've gone through actual stalking. I've gone through actual assault. I've gone through people cyberbullying me. I've gone through that shit. I will not accept that. It's not okay. Maybe I'm also leaning into the whole like beast and don't give a fuck era. I don't know. Maybe because I'm leaning more into that, where I'm just like, I'm not going to tolerate this shit. But I get fired up. I get very angry. I get very like mama bear protective about that. So anyway, I wanted to address that. And again, for the person who made the comment on my MBTI video, just saying thank you for sharing. It literally is not you. You did nothing wrong. Like, thank you for that comment. But I don't know why. I know I said comments off in the settings when I was posting it. And I want you to know, like, I'm not upset with you. Okay. Like, you did nothing wrong, but I need to protect my mental health. I need to protect me, because yes, I could open up to good comments, but I could also open up to bad. And how do I know that the people who cyberbullied me before aren't also paying attention now and waiting so that they can say something else? Because some of them are really awful people. And I also didn't know all of who they were, because that guy that assaulted me, that had hurt me, he's a very charming, very charismatic person. I mean, successful abusers are. They are the kind of people that you don't think could do those kind of things. Because they have that outward persona where it's like, oh, I can do no wrong, and people are always on their side. And so he literally grabbed a whole bunch of people that loved him and enjoyed his company, and literally just was like, hey, this woman is lying about me and saying this shit about me, and it's awful, and she's horrible. And like, he attacked me, cyberbullied, like he is cyberbullying me, and then he had other people do it. So it's just, I need to protect myself. I'm like, I am protective of my kids too. Like, I was doing videos of my kids at some point. I took all those down. Like, the moment that I had a lot of views on something, it scared me. And I was like, you know what? I need to protect my kids. I need to be proactive and not have videos of them. So I don't do audio. I don't do like visual or anything of my kids anymore. It's just me. But this was years ago. This was like absolutely years ago. But I'm trying to do what's best for me, and then, you know, of course, my kids. So this is my reason why I don't have comments on my YouTube. But I for Threads and Blue Sky, you have more protections. You can hide a comment and you can block a person. You can't do that on YouTube. So that's the other reason. Like, I may actually have it open if YouTube had that function, and I couldn't even report the person. I couldn't. It would not let me report that comment when it came to my ex-husband's video about like, oh, sounds like a great guy. You should introduce me. You know, again, paraphrasing. But anyway, I just wanted to explain that there's a legit reason why I don't do that. Again, thank you for the person who left a good comment. Like, that's nice. That's sweet of you. But if you don't see your comment or whatever, it's because like I cut off comments for a good reason. And I'm going to continue to do that. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good Tuesday. I was born on a Tuesday. I like Tuesdays, but I'm very blah right now. I had a little bit of a panic when I saw that there was a comment on my YouTube video where I'm like, wait, I know I turned comments off. What is going on? So that was a bit of a scare. So I'm going to go and get the coffee that's now freshly brewed. I'm going to go get some food. I'm going to sit down and start work. And I'm just going to try to hopefully decompress a little bit. I know I'm going to need something like chocolate later on. Thankfully, I have stocked up in my little snack drawer. So, but I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.